The pump is incoming. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil. I'm bringing back Bitcoin right now, and it's later in the day. And as we see, it's pumping up and trying to create an all-time high right now, around $122,771 for one Bitcoin. With that being said, we're going to do some downforce or deforce, filling out a W pattern, still in consolidation. Some other coins are pumping at the moment, but the RSI is looking nice and healthy. I don't see any volume on this chart for some reason. I guess it's not displayed. We just need a little bit of volume and start pushing up over this CM guppy, because you could look at this as an inverted scale and consider this a double top and then a push downwards, which is actually upwards on this. Moving over to Floki. Meme coin, but looking very nice as well. Came down, tested this upward trend line as support, which is at the bottom of the CM guppy as well. Made the RSI healthy right at the 50 area, touched once and a second time, and then we are now holding support on this black upward trend line. So if you haven't entered Floki, it is only 0.30 and 11. But pretty much once we break this 0.00012 area, we're most likely pushing back up towards this previous high. And then once that breaks, we could expect some sort of resistance within here around 0.0025 at the maximum. Looking at IOTX. IOTX is holding support as well, trying to stay over that 200 EMA, but also forming an upward wedge. And we could expect that if this breaks out over this 0.034 area, we can see the move up to at least 0.048 before a quick retracement, and then another push to 0.054 is just my guess for IOTX, but has a very long way to go. Ultimately, we need to break this downward trend line, and then it'll start taking off more to the upside. Looking at NEAR, which was brought in recently. NEAR filling out the inverse head and shoulders, almost identical to what was laid out, pushing right up to that 200 EMA. If you haven't entered NEAR, this is probably one of your best opportunities to. None of that is financial advice in any way, but it is at 295, and the next push could be all the way up here to potentially breaking this downward trend line, which is 573, being the 618 Fibonacci retracement as well. So everything is looking very good for NEAR. If you haven't entered, this is a really good point, so you don't have to worry about the risk versus reward ratio and seeing if it'll go down further. As once it breaks over this 200 EMA, we can expect that push upwards. Bringing in XCN early. XCN with all the stuff taken off of it. A lot of people are freaking out. A lot of people are scared that this is going to drop. It's just staying close to the 200 EMA. It's very oversold on the daily. We could see that push down to the oversold area and then pull back in really quick. But I think a lot of the holders are holding for this potential move to the upside. We could draw a trend line from here to here. There's many trend lines just listed out. It's not exact, but we just need to see this push back up over the 200 EMA, and we don't want to see any quick movements as we saw back here in Wednesday of the 9th. It had that major push up and then had to retrace all the way back down and a little some, but is still above this area right here. In this circle, if I can grab it, within this circle right at that point is where we need to stay above for this still to be valid. But XCN just in consolidation mode, waiting for that thing to take off. XYO I think is up about 23% in the past week, and it is testing this downward trend line. As we see the downward trend line, it touched right into this dotted red line area, which is the fair value gap, which it needs to break. So we want to see this hold above the 200 EMA, start slowly creeping up, no fast rapid movements, as we had a bunch of sell off right in that area. A lot of people were liquidated for people who were selling for a further low, and we need to creep up over this downward trend line and then ultimately start taking back off towards the 0.024, and XYO rips really fast as we look in the past. Just in this one day, we went from 0.0086 to 0.04. So it dropped to 0 and 414% in one day before ultimately retracing. Keeping in mind the RSI is starting to push towards the overbought area. So that's why we need to see some consolidation to bring that back down to the 50 and form a little bit more of some stabilization above that 200 EMA. XRP, XLM, and I think one more. XRP entry. Once we break this downward trend line, if you have not entered in at 50 cents, in at $2.33 or 265, we are about to break the downward trend line right here and enter into this important news area. August 13th to August 21st is some major news for XRP and XLM and the tokens that are going to be capital gains tax free. So if you haven't entered, now is not a bad entry, as we've touched once, twice, 3, 4. This is the 5th touch to this downward trend line. It is very weak. The RSI looks very healthy right at the center, and an inverse head and shoulders pattern played out. So a lot of this is very bullish. And the Fibonacci I have put on, we'll ignore the Fibonacci right now. I would just recommend entering this, but it is not financial advice in any way. Dollar cost average on XRP. Pull your money from another coin and put it into that one, as that is your best bet. Similar with XLM, inverse head and shoulders. If you want, we say we broke this downward line, and now we have another downward line that we need to break. And if that can break, we can start seeing that push upwards. But if we get a little rejection, we can come back down, but it's getting very bullish support with the CM guppy, and the RSI is looking very healthy as well. A little bit of volume in this coin and it will go a long way. Same with XRP. And then I'm going to bring in, what is this? LCX. Yep, it's about time to start looking at LCX. We had people asking us to enter way back here around 24 cents, I think, and it just kept traveling downwards. However, we are now starting to build a base. The reason I say that is I was saying when it gets above the 200 EMA over the 15-cent area, which right now, over the past couple of days, it is up 44%, but we needed to hold above that 200 EMA before looking for a better entry, something with more stability. And what I would like to do is do an upward trend line like this. As we saw when it broke this trend line, it traveled down further, but now we got a little bit of support. We had that rejection back here on the 200 EMA, and it pushed further down. So if we get a rejection here, we could expect a retracement, but if we get a hold and consolidation, we can expect this to start taking off. That's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you want. References for like Tornado Cash and MEXC and a bunch of other things, free airdrop money in the description below. And Tornado Cash is not a bad entry either. I've been talking about this one for like a month and a half now. If you haven't entered yet, then I don't know what to tell you, but good luck, have fun with it. I will see you on the next one. None of this is financial advice.